Hi guys, I'm Ryan Newsman and welcome to my fly tying channel. If you haven't already done so, consider hitting the subscribe button down below. That'll keep you up to date with everything as I upload it. My channel already contains hundreds of videos covering a wide range of both patterns and techniques, from the basic to the more advanced. So without delay, let's get on with the show. Hi guys, so tonight we're going to tie a salmon fly. This one probably came on the scene around about 2011, 2012 I think. It was tied by a guy called Gary Hillary, and this is the Tyne Toucan. So it's a kind of a spey styled fly, and I'm tying it here on an M2 heavy single from Partridge. This fly has a butt of gold oval. So take a gold oval here, and I'm going to match it up to the back of the return eye there. And that helps to even out the body as we wrap backwards. So I'll wrap that back, sort of loose turns until I get back to a point roughly just behind the barb, and then I'll make a more level bed for with my tying thread. I tend to flip the fly over so I can see what I'm doing, and then we'll put on 3 or 4 turns of the gold oval as a tag. Just wind back then. You don't have to leave turns on just because you put them on. Wind them back, tie off, and then we'll take big spiral and turns here to get us forward. Because again, I'm tying everything in because we have a silk sort of body on this fly. We're doing this to keep the body level. So tied that forward again roughly to the return eye, then I'll hold it back and wrap back until I get back to the gold tag or butt or whatever you want to call it. So we now have our ribbon all ready to go, and we have a nice smooth underbody so far. So this fly has 2 different tails. So it has a golden pheasant breast feather, and here I've actually chosen to dye this like a fluorescent red just for a little bit extra pop. I'm going to tie that in, and on top of it then a golden pheasant topping. So we use that curvature of it to give us a bit of a kick. Set that on top, hold both in place and wrap back to meet it. We'll then tie all this forward again to the return eye. To avoid bumps. So next we're going to take a black rayon floss. Take about 16 inches or so of that. And I'm going to catch it across its middle on my tying thread here. Roughly match up the 2 ends, and then I can slide that down to the body, and then I have no tag end to cut off, and wrap that back to the rear of the fly. Then come forward, evening out any gaps as we go with the tying thread. This is a thin tying thread, so it takes a bit of wrapping till we get to this point here of the return eye. So then we take our 2 strands then of black silk, and we wrap that forward. So as the 2 are slightly separated, so the leading one advances the silk body as we go, and the rear one then overlaps, and that gives us a double layered silk body rather than having to go a single stranded and go down and back up again. It gives you a quicker cover, and it levels itself out. we need a bit of room at the head, so we're stopping probably just shy of the return eye here. Tie it up on top, pull it forward, and a number of turns just to hold it in place there. Trim it off, and then we need to wrap our rib. So usually ribs are about 5 turns, and they're either equidistant or you need to get slightly further apart with each one as you go. Pull that underneath and over on the top, and again tie it off. So this fly has an underwing which is the same as the tail, so we take the same 2 feathers again, one of these golden pheasant breast feathers. I'm going to tie it in with its sort of curvature pointing upwards, center it up on top, and then I'm going to pull that forward until it's around about the length of the body there, and then tighten it up a little bit, and then we're going to go and put on a golden pheasant topping as well. So we're looking for, again, that curvature, and that probably gives it play in the water. So take one of these, set it up on top, and once it's in place, hold all and bind it down. So as you can see, we have these two. This is a little bit of the same idea as why you've got boar bristles and that in flies, is that it just catches water and gives you a bit of movement. So I'll wax up my thread there and just bind down those materials. So we're ready now for the hackles. So the hackle that's called for in this is a blue-eared pheasant dyed in a magenta or dyed in a red colour. They can be very hard to come by, and also size-wise they can be quite stiff at times and difficult to find to suit a smaller fly, which is maybe more in our fishable sizes. So a good alternative for this is a standard cock pheasant rump. So this is a standard cock pheasant rump patch which has been dyed magenta, and it comes out then as a nice claret colour. So we strip that and we're going to double it. Now there should be an info button up in the corner there. I'll try and put a link to doubling hackles because it takes a little bit of explaining. So we tie that in across its tip, fold it back, and then wrap that in place. So the number of turns is up to yourself as to how dense or otherwise you want your fly to be. But they tend to be quite short hackles anyway, so you don't tend to get a lot of turns, 3 to 4 turns out of one anyway. Tie it off, snip it off, and then we need to put a hackle on the front of this. So the hackle that's called for on the front of this is a gadwall hackle, which is dyed in, again, either a red or a magenta colour. So this is a duck hackle, and duck hackles have certain peculiarities about them as well, which makes them quite difficult to wrap. So you just need to choose them sort of carefully. So if you choose one that's really curvy, it'll give you difficulty. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to take one of these here. You can see it's that sort of barred kind of colour, and what I'm going to do is it's going to be wrapped on, this is the leading edge, so what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to strip a little bit off, so you can see it's unequally stripped. So then the last couple of turns of this will be single-sided, and that will aid in giving you a nice smooth throat, hopefully. So again, I'm going to double that. So I'm doubling the tip portion of it, tends to be more How would you put it? More straight, easier to conform. Tie across the tip and flip it back, tie over that, and then we need to wrap that. So hackle pliers on, stroke back our fibres, and then wrap it. Now you see they're very short feathers again, so you only tend to get 2 or 3 wraps on, but as you can see now, the last wrap or so of mine was single-sided, and with the curve that generally suits this sort of wet fly style of a wrap, and you can see it sort of conforms, it pulls in and cloaks the wraps that went underneath them, makes them hold in the position that you want. So that's the general tie-in of the fly done. What we need to do now is put on a couple of jungle cock eyes. These tend to be quite short tied, so tie one in on that side. And another one for this side. There's a rope for length. Once they're in place, I'll bind them down. Trim them off. And then to finish our fly, I'm just going to run a little bit of super glue onto a couple of inches of the thread. You can see just very fine little beads of super glue. Hold all back and then just create your head in a little blob of glue that's created, and that just fixes everything. While it's still wet, then whip finish your head. I do it by hand. Trim that off. So that's our fly tied. All it requires now is just a little coat of clear varnish on the head, just to finish it off. And that's it done. So that is the Tyne Toucan. So if you like what you see, give us a like, subscribe, tell your friends. Check out the other videos I've got on the channel. And until next time, tight lines, and thanks for watching.